So the last time we talked to you, again, you're talking about the personal brand. You had some ideas as to what you wanted to do, and then you sat down with Emily because you said she had some ideas too. So what are you guys finding like your baseline start is? Like, what are you thinking about? Like, what's your end goal in it all? After all, let's say you work on this for 20, 25 years, like where are you wanting to be? What are you wanting to happen?
So, I mean, obviously you want to accurately tell your story and make sure you have the best highlights without getting too much fluff or terrible content, which I'm sure that's going to be about 80% of it. Yeah.
But that's okay because everybody starts somewhere. Though.
That's right. That's right.
Like really, and the other side of that too is terrible content is subjective. Like we talked about with the day in life thing, and you're like, well, nobody really wants to see my life, and I say, no, trust me, because what you find mundane, they may find intriguing.
Yeah. I'm a very boring person. Trust me.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because people want to know what's going on.
I want to watch your boring life so I can feel better about myself. I mean, maybe I can do that for you.
Well, the funny thing is one of the guys that I listen to, when he talks about the document Don't Create, he's like, if you don't know where to start, you just start with your cell phone and you're like, hey, I'm going to the gas station now. And you go to the gas station and you show what you're doing.
I don't know about you, but I can't stand those people.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the people who put their picture of their food before they eat it. And everything.
But yeah, I know. Funny thing is that I do that too.
Just please follow me on my socials. We'll just share food together.
This isn't even going out. See, so
I know. I know. I'm still having fun with it. Though.
Good. I just want to make sure you're not thinking that like you have to do performance Jay in this. Like it's going somewhere.
I will give you content. I'm playing.
But what I'm saying is, what I want is just real.
Yeah.
You know, like playful content's fun.
Yeah.
But like really, what this is about is just like where you are, where you want to go, and me giving you advice on like how you can get there.
Sure.
But your personality is to joke around, which I like too.
Yeah.
So again, you can use some of this stuff for your own stuff too. Like, you know, I think you should just have fun.
No, absolutely.
But I just don't want you to think that like you have to try to give me content or anything.
No, I'm
like,
not.
This is just us chatting.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Good.
No, I think the ultimate goal is to just kind of make some sort of sense out of all of the tools that we have. I mean, I use social media a lot, or socials or whatever, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm putting the content out right. And I mean, it's a good, something that you told me right away was just, hey, just put it all out there.
Yep.
But I do want some kind of rhyme or reason, and to make sure that I'm sharing it properly, and to make sure that I am distributing it equally. I mean, I know that, you know, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, I'm just making sure that I don't want to lose any kind of audience that are in areas that I should be. Right. It's almost kind of looking like a portfolio. Like you're looking at it and like, oh, these are my problem areas.
Right.
I don't have a portfolio, and it's very minimal. If that, it's
there's more content than you think. And what I did before you got here is I was doing some research, just looking on YouTube, just searching by your name and seeing what's out there. And you have your what was that called? Not What's Up Fotsch. What the Fotsch,
yes.
Right? Now I see that Fox didn't do too much to try to promote it because the views were only like 48 to 72 kind of thing. But I guess my question really is like, so let's say 25, 35 years from now, right? Is your end goal, are you wanting to be an influencer? Are you wanting to be speaking at conferences? Are you wanting to be known as like the person in radio that people need to follow to learn how to do it well? Like what's your not defined end goal, but what are you pushing towards? Is this a way to enhance what you're doing on the radio and bring more ratings in? Is this now preparing for post radio where you want to transition to something you can do on your own? But what is it you're wanting to do on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'd answer that question right now, it would absolutely. I mean, you can't just be on the radio to be successful. You got to do more than that. But even TV, if we're talking TV, that's completely different. Just to add with that element, because it's just you can't just do radio and TV anymore. I mean, so this is kind of almost evolving with where it's bringing us. So I need to get caught up in what I'm doing outside of radio and TV to make sure that I'm doing it good and consistently putting out content on other places as well. And not just, and consistent is very important part of that, because if I'm putting it out once a week or a couple times a month. It's just, it doesn't get legs. And so yes, building all of that. But my ultimate goal, I'm not to answer the question.
No, it's okay.
My ultimate goal would be a little bit of everything. I mean, I know me and Emily talked a little bit about blogs and video blogs and incorporating audio with it as well. But just what's going on now, and just almost kind of like if you search it, just like you search some of the work I've already done, it would be a little bit more timelined, and it would be almost like you're opening a photo album, only it's a lot more elaborate than that. And you kind of go, oh, this is before we got married. This is when I got married and I was doing radio and TV, and this, who knows after that. And then this is where we had kids. And I was more of like, I kind of got a father kind of a vibe. So any of those influences that I can help. And I mean, I love people. I love helping people. I mean, I think me and you just talked about that. I mean, I think we all got to help each other. And not just say that. I mean, there's a lot of people that say it, but sit down and spend the time and just to have experiences every single day. I mean, you can take away from that. And just to tell the story of that, whether 10 people look at it, I mean, ultimately you want to hopefully affect as many people as you can. But I guess that would be my ultimate goal. If there's speaking engagements, if there's anybody I can help, I don't know who I would help right now. It would be great. And if there's, I guess, to build all of this to show someone, to be like, hey, yes, we're all in this together. I've learned from this person. This person took a little bit from me. I mean, it's like if you watch any comedy documentaries, it's one comedian will be like, well, I learned this from him, and I learned this from her, and I learned this from him, and we kind of sat down at a bar one night and talked a little bit about this. And I mean, that's almost kind of where I'm at with my personality, is I can probably give you 25 very influential friends, family members throughout the years that built me who I am, or different ways of looking at life in certain situations. So, a long answer, all of that tied up in a big bow that you can open up and hopefully get something from it. Ultimately, entertainment in some way or another, whether it's happy, sad, exciting, shitty, angry.
But it's going to happen, though. I mean, when you think about, again, what social media really is it is about about getting to know people, getting into life, and creating friendships, but then also like being along on a journey with somebody. So if you're having a day where you're like, man, this day really fucking sucks, there's nothing wrong with grabbing your camera and just sitting there saying like, this has been a rough day. Like, if you can go into specifics, go for it. Be like, but you can always turn it around too. You can say like, I did this the other day. I was like, this day really sucked. Like, I had a really hard time, but you know what? Tomorrow's the new day. Turn it into something inspirational. Or if you do a vlog, not daily, but like if you do a weekly or whatever, people want to know that journey. They want to see that you're human. All they see is what's on TV and hear what they hear on radio and see at the Cardinals games. What happens when you open up the door? And now people are seeing the real Jay Fotsch, like what he's like at home, what his fiance does, what she's like, the 25 most influential people in your life, and like meeting them and sitting down and like you can do this kind of stuff just at your house, and not even in an official capacity. You just set up the damn camera and you just sit there and talk. Like, that's really it. And what I would love to do is get you to a point where you're making enough money off of it where you can actually hire somebody to then follow you around every day, right? And especially when you are to that point, you'll be in that influential area where you'll probably have a lot more meetings happening, or a lot more exciting things going on where you can, like, for whatever reason, let's say SRC wants to talk to me about something today. So they're going to follow you, the person's going to follow you with the camera, and you're going to be talking in your car about what you're feeling or where you're going. You're like, oh, I'm really nervous about this, and they want to talk about this. And then if they let you in the meeting, your person sits there and films the talk. So people now see what's happening on the behind the scenes of what's going on. It may lead to, let's say it's a commercial deal or an influencer post or whatever. But people are seeing what's going on in the life, and they get so emotionally attached to that that they're going to want to come back. And then not only for you, when you're talking about your digital photo album, think of what happens 20 years down the line where you've produced all this content to get to where you are. You're there, and now you have your kids who can sit there, like let's say 40 years, 50 years, I don't know how old you are. Let's say you pass away at 90 or 100,
I am just so
right?
glad they haven't seen the last 20 years.
Really?
I'm glad that shit isn't documented.
But the point is, though, is that this is the stuff that people can always go back on to learn who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and that's ultimately kind of what we're talking about. So I'm going to be super vulnerable with you right now.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if this is just necessarily where we're at in the digital world, but like, so I've always been taught to, and I know what I do is a lot of people would think like, oh man, you're just in it to, for you and ego, and so I'm trying to do the angle that I don't do, but what I'm not comfortable with yet is sharing all of that, because I feel when I do it, like what you're saying, when you're going, turn the camera on me, I've had a bad day, I'm like, that's pretty self-indulgent. Like, and it
depends on your intention.
Yes, and I know there is a take, but that's where I'm trying to be. Like, it's I don't mind being vulnerable on camera or on the radio, but I'm trying to be vulnerable like with that, because I don't know. Some of the things I see is just like, man, I don't like. Some of them I see, I'm like, who cares?
I have a friend that posts,
do you know what I mean, though? And I'm not trying to sound ignorant, but I don't want to put something out there where somebody's like, I don't care, dude. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I've had a bad day too. Like, now what? So that's where it becomes the people question, to where I think that's what's been kind of stopping me. And it's that little voice in the head that's kind of, my parents taught me, even as a young age, like when I was playing baseball, where they're like, hey man, don't be cocky, and if you are, we'll say something. Right. So it's like, be confident but not cocky. So I don't ever want to put that out and be some egotistical prick.
But there's a difference.
That's doing that there if you do it right. But that's what I mean. I don't want to put something out the wrong way where somebody's like, what an asshole.
Right. But here's the other side. No matter what you put out, there are going to be people that sit there and say, what an asshole. Yeah. Like, when you do it for you, it's one thing. When you're trying to do something to please other people is where it loses its authenticity. There's always going to be haters. No matter what direction you go, no matter what your intention is, and especially if you start getting some more notoriety on it, like, people are always
Biggie
going to assume that.
There's always going to be haters.
Always going to be haters. But it's true, though. So what I would say to that is, that's why you just put out the content. And if people want to call you out on it, that's okay. Like, so
people
one of the guys
want to have their PhD.
Well,
player haters degree.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. But it's so true.
The notorious big.
Like, what happens though? And you probably even have this on the radio, right? Because you're tall, you have a big personality, you have a deep voice, you're loud and laughter and like fun because that's who you are. Look at Sarah. She has the laugh. And that laugh will turn a lot of people off. But in the end, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're just putting out content, hoping that it'll maybe connect with that 1 or 2 or 3 people to help them on in life. Yeah. And if people want to make a judgment on you with never even ever having a conversation with you, let them. Yeah. And you kill them with kindness. Yeah. Because, what most of those people are doing is they're compensating for whatever's miserable going on in their life. They want to make assumptions about anybody that's out there that's making a difference. So if you're connecting with people and people are seeing you as an inspirational figure, of course there's going to be haters that are going to come in. But what they want is the argument. So that's when you go back to them and say, man, I'm really sorry to hear, like, you think that about me. We've never even had a conversation, like, or you just don't worry about it.
So what would you say to people who are, like, the hardest part for me even getting into radio or TV is that I didn't have that. I mean, obviously if there's somebody else in the studio or you're talking to somebody great, like me and you were talking, right? The hardest part for me in the beginning, when it was just me talking into a microphone or me straight into a camera, and I guess this is kind of the same thing, but I'm still learning. I'm very much a people person and want to see that reaction and like, what would you say to somebody who's like, I'm just kind of, I'm not saying I'm holding back. I'm just hesitant on to make sure that I'm putting that across as looking into that or posting the right way or what to post and what not to post. Just post away and like throw a bunch of crap at the wall and see what sticks, kind of thing.
That's how you start. And it really is testing and retesting, right? Because there is an element where you do want to care about your audience and making sure that you're using the right words, the right pictures and everything to connect with them. But when you're talking about the personal brand stuff, personal brand is all about you. It's about what you stand for, who you are as a person, and what you can offer to everybody else, right? So you may try something one day, like you may look at Emily and be like, you know what, I think we need to record a conversation about donuts and just see what happens, right? So then all of a sudden you sit there and talk for donuts 20 minutes, turns into this hilarious conversation, and then you put it out there and people now see the dynamic between you and Emily and they're like, oh, that's really interesting, or like they're so in love, it's so cute to see, or they're going to be like, why are people talking about it? But it doesn't matter because you're just sharing your life with people and it ends up being a fun conversation. Like there may be something you put out where you're like, I don't think this is very interesting, and that's the one that blows up.
Yeah,
you know
that's that's anything. Yeah.
Like there are posts that I've done for some of my businesses where I'm like, man, this is really gonna jump, and it falls flat. But then one day where I'm like, let's just see what happens. I don't think it's all that great, and all of a sudden you're getting traction from it. Like it's really just about being you and just putting out stuff that with the intention to help people. And maybe that's where you kind of talk about it in the beginning too. Like, hey guys, I am starting a personal brand now, but it's because I actually want you to see the real person, like who I am outside of radio and TV. Give you a glimpse into my life, and if I can help you along the way, that's my aim. Like to me, everything you're saying is all about your legacy in the end. It's not necessarily about making millions of dollars and brand deals and influencer. You have a good heart, and what you want to do is just say, if I can just help somebody get through a day. That's what you do in radio. Your stuff in the morning is to get people like waking up and laughing and being okay for the day. Like, you know. It's
interesting what you said though, because there is a difference between the show and the entertainment, and then a little bit different because you don't.
It's personalities.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. Like even when we're hanging out at the house, I mean, I'll still do the stupid shit I'm doing with you, like you know. So I mean, it's just to throw a little bit in there. But yeah, you're exactly right.
It's really just.
And why am I so hesitant? What an idiot! Why am I so freaking hesitant?
You want to know why?
I am talking this shit out loud to you, right? And I do this on TV and radio every day, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to showboat about it. But it's like I'm putting it out here, but I'm like, this might be too much here. Like I don't want to like. I don't know. I just sometimes when I'm looking at people, I'm like, man, this person's on Facebook all the time. Like, how does this person have time to have a conversation with their family or their friends or put their phone down? Like, and I need that in a day. And so some of that, I feel like it's taken away from like a conversation that I can have with somebody or something that I can learn one-on-one or help somebody one-on-one. And I get that you can reach more when there's a camera in front of you, but I don't know, maybe that's one of the things, but you tell me what you're
seeing.
There's
a balance. I mean, if you need time to yourself, you need time for yourself.
I feel like I feel like I'm in my shrink's off. What's wrong with me?
I have to, if you need to lay down, I'll sit down. You know, we can like,
oh my God. I just don't know how to put this shit on social media.
Well, I think
I put pictures out and I filter the hell out of my face, but I'm just still not where I need to be in my desired weight on my protein / non-carb diet. Damn it.
I think what's happening with you is that you have a personality on radio, but now to do what you're doing now is a whole lot more intimate.
Yeah.
Now you're peeling back the layers.
Yeah.
So there's probably that certain level of vulnerability which makes you uncomfortable. Like you said, I don't want to be perceived as self-promoting or this is all about me or whatever. Yes. But it's because now you're going to get real. But that's what people connect to. They want to know your story. Again, they want to see you and Emily together. If your dad is as crazy as you say he is, like you guys are crazy, like similar in personality, Like, what's going to happen when you're just sitting there talking to him on the couch and the camera's going?
Yeah.
You're going to have a funny conversation, you know, but people want to see that behind the scenes of your life.
Yeah.
But in that, you're telling your story to inspire people.
Yeah.
There are going to be people out there who want to be in radio.
The hell am I inspire them to do?
But that's the thing. We all assume
don't do radio. That's why I'm going to inspire you not to do radio.
But let's say there is somebody.
Dick in the Box will tell you the same way. Or what is his name?
Dick in the dark.
Dick in the dark.
Dick in the Box.
Hide the Dick will tell you the same thing. Don't do it.
We're going to have to show that to Richard for sure.
Yes. Oh,
Hi, Richard.
Yeah.
You're a dick.
He told us some crazy stories about him and Aerosmith, and you know, like the one night they're on a 3-day bender, and like it's just
That's awesome.
But you know, again, you're going to peel back the layers, and it is uncomfortable because your baseline is saying your baseline has been the same for years now.
Yeah.
But now your baseline of all.
Well, I don't mind being uncomfortable because I mean I probably share some pretty intimate shit on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
But
people aren't.
Once again, the self-indulgent.
Mm-hmm. But
that's
again,
I don't want
your intention matters.
Yeah.
And what everybody else says who may be hating on you for it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Number one, you're never going to meet them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one of my favorite guys, his name's Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, Johnny Pants 482 on YouTube told me I sucked. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But again, like, what you're doing is going to outweigh what people think in that vein.
Yeah.
There are going to be haters, and you know, you kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's what they need.
Sure.
Right? Or if you're sitting there saying, you know, I really learned a valuable lesson today. This happened to me, and like it took me aback. But what I realized, like I just put out a video about comparing. Right? I just started my YouTube channel yesterday, and I filmed a video in here just about comparison because all my life, my dad is very successful, my brother is very successful, and I'm the one that struggles to get by every day, right? And even in college, like I would have a friend from home start going to college a year after I got there, and they all loved him so much, they stopped talking to me. And then before I knew it, 2 years out, I wasn't even friends with any of them anymore. So my entire life has always been about comparing myself. But just in the last year, I kind of stopped and I'm like, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or where anybody else has been because I'm me. All of the decisions that I've made till now have taken me to where I am today. Luckily now I'm on the mend, like there's some really good things going on and content ideas and all stuff I want to do. But I just kind of realized that comparing myself to anybody else is a waste. Why take the energy over here comparing myself or being afraid of what people are going to think? Why don't I take that energy and put it here where I need to grow and master my craft and master my mind? So all that to say, so I sat there very vulnerable in front of the camera, and I'm sitting there saying like, you know, telling people about how I
some shit that you probably didn't think that you'd share probably a year ago.
Right.
But you're fine. You've gotten to that time in your life where you're ready to share it, and you're ready to share it the right way.
And to help other people.
So it's basically just getting into the right spot and the right angle. Just kind of like what
it's just about talking.
On the air,
it's really like when you look at internet in general, you know, there's a lot of content out there that isn't well put together. There's a reason why I don't bring in professional lights for this kind of conversation because social media is just real. Mm-hmm. And so many people think it needs to be something really, really polished and edited well and sound levels. And there's a place for that. But when you're talking real life, like your radio is the perfect example. What do you see people sharing all the time on Facebook from radio stations? It's always memes and like funny videos, but they're all pixelated because they've been shared so many times that it lost the quality, yet people continue to share them. Yeah. People just want realness and authenticity on social media anymore. Yeah. So that's why you don't need fancy equipment. All you need is your camera,
No, you got a lot of stuff here.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, well, this
is coming from the guy who has fruit in his water. I don't need anything fancy. I just need good coffee that I make in my popcorn maker and fruit that I put in my water.
Yeah. But that's, you know, again.
And I have all the space in here, and I do whatever I want here. I walk around here with my pants off if I want to.
Wearing my
Because
Crocs.
it's so creative. Everybody's just so out there. Nobody gives a shit. They say, hey, look at him. He might have a good idea. He's got his pants down
That's
today.
like you have my boxers and Crocs, and I'm just like, I don't give a shit what people think.
People are like, I want to work with that guy.
Exactly.
He seems creative.
He seems very professional. But
I like when you say something like that, they'll be like, well, who was the guy from the Apple? The guy who didn't wear he wouldn't wear shoes. And they said, hey, you gotta wear shoes. He says, I don't want to wear shoes. I don't think good without my shoes. Who is it? Is it Bill Gates? Who is it?
I don't know.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. One of those
I
guys.
didn't even know that. But again, people want to see authenticity and just you walking your life out. Yeah. But, so I took that comparison of everything that I've dealt with, stood in front of the camera and said, I hope this helps you to realize that you shouldn't compare yourself anymore to anybody else.
Yeah. Just little life lessons if anybody else is going through something like that.
Yep.
I mean, it's...
Yep. And then what happens when you have this fan base and then you can just turn on the camera and have a Facebook Live where people just ask you questions. Again, you're connecting with people. And people will ask you funny questions. You'll have a funny response to it, obviously.
Yeah.
Or some people may say, like, this is what's going on in my life. And you can turn around and say, well, listen, that actually happened to me a couple years ago. Here's what happened. Here's how I turned it around. And here's how you can turn it around. Like, it doesn't matter what the haters say, because the haters are going to be there. It's your intention. If your intention is truly, I want to show you my life, and I want to see how I can help you, that's always going to win.
Haters are going to hate.
Yeah.
Hate.
They need to drink some haterade,
Hate.
you know?
Player's going to play.
Yep.
Play.
So in your discussions with Emily about kind of like where you're going or what you're thinking about doing, what have you guys come up with as far as like an even baseline, this is where we should start?
We were thinking more content, and with Emily, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm not structured, but out of the two, I'm very more.
Yeah, you're more freeform. Well, her being
like
a
I'm a
lawyer,
hippie compared to Emily.
her being a lawyer, she
I
has to.
need a beginning, I need a middle, I need an end, and we need to graph this out, and I need to make sure I do the calculation correct, and I want to make sure that there's a result before we start anything. And I need to know, what are we going to be doing 5 years from today?
Yep.
I don't know.
I think
you
and
keep
Leslie,
that shit up, we won't be together.
You and Leslie get along in that way. Emily and I get along in that way. Because I'm creative, I'm structured creative, right?
I get it though. I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I am to an extent too, man. I mean, but yes, that's what we've been talking about.
She needs to realize that results may not even happen for 5
No,
7
I know.
years,
No,
you know?
she's
Like,
cool. I'm obviously
Gotcha.
over exaggerating, but no. I mean, we both have said like, hey, what are some like bits? What are some things that we can create? Some content. But I think after talking to you, the realness, I mean, is always a good thing to go on. I mean, I know that I have a crap ton, I'm sure that you've looked at the YouTube and everything, of archived videos.
You totally sounded
YouTube.
70 years old. You're like,
I'm sorry.
hey, how do I get to the YouTube?
It's on the Facebook, Don.
On the Facebook.
Don, you have to go through the Facebook. And
I
then you
should
get
create
through
myself a
the
Twitter
YouTube.
account.
It's
Yeah.
the YouTubes. Who's YouTube Red? What movie is that? Did they make a movie about YouTube?
Yeah.
Who is it? Was it Red? Is it the same Red that Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman was in? Did they do another? And then now they do it
Is
on.
Red Fotsch actually alive?
Holy crap!
Is he
It's
back
a story
again?
on YouTube about Red Fox.
But so anyway, the YouTube.
Yes.
Right.
No, I'm just saying that you've
pulling
seen
back
all
there?
that shit. But obviously there's that. I mean, I don't know if we want to do a throwback or whatever. Like,
Yes.
hey man, this is some of the work I've done. But I think the biggest thing
I think
is
we need to create the new work.
Yeah.
And part of what I was going to tell you, the reason I was watching What's Up, Fotsch. So you and I talked about the idea before of, like the beer with Fotsch kind of thing, where you're starting like the podcasting side or the audio side of what you want to do, right? So you have some pull, some people around here that may be somewhat influential. Pull them in, go into like a 4x4 brewing or wherever, and you talk to the manager and say, hey, listen, I'm going to start a podcast. Like, they probably know who you are by now because you are so visible on not only TV and radio, but with Cardinals. But you can go in and say, hey, listen, I'm going to pull in, I'd like to do my podcast here. It's going to be a video podcast. I'd like to bring people in as like kind of an audience. If you sponsor me and my guest, I guarantee you my guests are going to spend money here, drinking beer and eating food, right? So you start that side of it, of the realness side. But I think you need to go back out and do some what's up Fotsch kind of stuff on your own. Now, I was thinking of a couple names. I'm not good with names, so I'm just warning you. You're going to probably look at me like, that shit, but hey, that's okay. I'm all right with that. I talked about like you going out and going on a street corner during First Walk Friday, and we put up a sign that says, answer 3 questions for me. And then you're going to ask people random questions. Or like life questions. Or, we're getting towards Thanksgiving. Who's to say in October you can't start out a tell me what you're thankful for and create some type of emotional video around that. Or you can ask them boxers or briefs, coffee or wine, or whatever you want to have discussions along the similar lines of what the meaning of life. You can totally create that content for your personal brand because it is your personality. And you love to talk and you love to joke. So based on these people's answers, there's going to be like a conversation between the two of you joking around or whatever. There is absolutely no reason why you can't do that. And now putting it in the scale of social media and YouTube and everything, right? I think we should call it Fotchin' Up Springfield. Or what was the other one I said? Springfield is Fotched Up, or something, along those lines, because I know the parallel with the name or whatever.
Nick, those are terrible ideas.
Oh, they are. I think they are good. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, oh, I know, you're good. You're good. But I think going out...
dude, I actually love that.
Yeah, I know. Springfield is Fotched Up. I mean, so many different ways you can go,
Hey, Fotchers!
yeah. But I'm telling you, so let's say down the line you're putting out email content now, right? Like join our Fotched Up list. Or like you said, you have a fan base and you call them a bunch of Fotchers. It's funny as hell, right? And it's catchy. But I think what you need to do is start local, a lot like Jeff Houghton did, and just go out and interview people. That's one side of it. The other side, if you want to put together a skit of sorts, or like like Vine does, you have something in your idea. It's not there anymore. Vine's actually going to be making a comeback, but like a funny skit. Yeah. Apparently there's a Vine 2 being developed because everybody missed Vine 1 because they shut that down.
Right.
So it's on its way back again. But who's to say you can't put together little comedy clips too of skits or whatever you want? But it really just comes down to you just need to start. And maybe you do start by sharing your story. I think you need a Facebook public figure page, because that's where you have your ad capabilities and your insights.
I was talking about that already.
I think you need to do that, and then this is one that I would say in most businesses, you don't put it out there and tell your friends and family to join. Yours is different because you already have a following. I'm sure when people send you a friend request on Facebook, you're accepting anyway. It doesn't matter who they are, because there's a lot of fans out there that want to connect with you. So once you put it on there, hey, I'm starting my public figure page, we're going to start having some fun, you're going to build an immediate following right away. Because people know who you are. Now it's taking it to the next level of what can I do to entertain people? I'm a big goober. What can I do to go out and make people laugh? And then also pulling back, saying, hey, like, this is where I'm at. There's a guy I want you to start following. You and him have a very similar personality, except he's a whole lot more vulgar, right? Just as far as like I don't know you outside as far as like how much you're cursing and stuff, but he's like every other word's the F-bomb. But he built a media empire. He started actually in wine with his dad. He has this crazy story.
Dude, I'm gonna write some of this down.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're fine. I'm gonna grab some of my fancy water anyway.
Yeah, get some of your fancy water.
Do you want me to stop this?
No.
So,
Okay. We're gonna shut down in a minute.
okay.
I already restarted it because it did stop halfway through.
Okay.
Good stuff, man.
I'm trying to pay attention to
The battery?
Yeah. Well, the blinky.
That just means it's going right now.
Right.
Yep.
I've
All
been
good.
trying to pay attention.
That's fine.
I didn't know you had restarted it.
I did.
Okay.
His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. V-A-Y. Yeah, good, Gary. V-A-Y-N-E-R-C-H-U-K. So his story in a very quick synopsis.
Is he a comedian?
No. So He was it Russia? Do you remember?
I'm trying to say Bulgaria, but I don't think
Yeah,
it's
Romania maybe. Somewhere in
Eastern European.
Yeah.
Very.
Him and his family were immigrants. They landed in New York, and they remember his dad was passing by a liquor store and said, "I'm going to own one of those one day." They lived in a 500 square foot studio apartment, and there were 7 or 8 of them. Aunt's uncles, his family, whatever. And his dad started working in a liquor store. Gary was a natural entrepreneur. He kids around about how he used to have a lemonade stand, and there were 5 locations, and he used to go around on his big wheel and collect the money from his friends, right? Then he got into baseball cards, and he started studying how people at some of his competition in a mall would search for baseball cards, and then he'd go back to his place and put it together so that it would optimize his sales. He's always been a natural-born entrepreneur. And he was making like $3,000 a weekend at like 8, 10 years old, right? His dad pulled him into the business, and he was now shoveling ice for $2 an hour, and he was pissed because he was making it. He said he used to have a stash of cash under his bed because he didn't have a bank account because he was 8 years old, right? So anyway, he went into his dad's business, and then when Web 1.0 started, where websites were brand new, he's like, this is where it's going, I need to do that. And his dad gave him $15,000, because back in the day that's what it took, tanked the first year. But then as he started to learn about it, learn people's behaviors, email marketing, all this kind of stuff, in 6 years he took his dad's business from $3 million to $60 million, right? Finally, when he hit that 60, he's like, I'm not getting anything out of this, and I have no equity, so Dad, I'm quitting. I'm going to go start my own social media agency. Because that's what he was doing, was email, digital, back in the day. But he knew Facebook and Twitter and all these things were, going to be viable, so he quit. So he started an agency, and he's now, I think this is year 8 or 9, and he has 900 people in his agency. And he has his own team dedicated to just his personal branding. He puts out so much content, and that's where I get a lot of my business model from him of, if you would have talked to me 2 years ago, I would have been like, no, you need to pay me for my information. Anymore, he's always been the value. He says, I could charge $10,000 for a master class that you can buy online. Like, he has all this social proof and all these results and great things. He says he's living for legacy. So he talks to his fans, gives them like 5 minutes on a Skype. I mean, he's this major, millions of followers.
Yeah, but what if nobody gives a shit?
But that's the
like
thing.
what? I mean, you put all this stuff out there, and they're just like,
So let
there's
them.
me and my 8 friends.
No, but there's going to be an audience that will give a shit, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So when you search up Gary Vaynerchuk, he does the document, don't create. He has somebody following him around all day with a camera. But if you look up Gary Vaynerchuk plus personal branding, he has put so much content out about how to build a personal brand. And he is extremely knowledgeable. He's like the go-to guy in all of social media marketing now. And some people hate him because he does have some bravado to him. Yeah. And some people are like, you're an ass and you're just all for yourself and you don't really give a shit about people. And he turns around, he's very humble too, where he's like in his agency, he's making sure that he meets with every single employee at least once a year. 900 people. This guy travels all over the world to speak. He has digital agencies in, I think, 3 different countries and I think 3 or 4 locations in the U.S. alone. He's extremely busy, but he's so HR driven that he invites new employees in, sits down with them for 15 minutes just to talk to them.
Yeah.
And when you're a mega influencer and you're still caring about people. Anyway, all that to say, there are a lot of haters that come in and be like, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and he's an idiot and all this kind of stuff. It just doesn't matter. Because for him, it's all about helping people and building a legacy.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to build.
So do you, when you put out, I mean, once again, I know I've kind of asked this question before, but when you put out content or when you have a sit down or like, let's say I'm interviewing you or whatever for a podcast, do you have any rhyme or reason to it? I mean, okay.
It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So the podcast I'm going to start is called This Is Life. And all it is talking to people about their stories. But what I want to do.
So that's and I mean, do you purposely keep it that vague so you can pretty much do anything you want?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done some research on blogs and people who are successful. You don't pigeonhole.
Niching, right?
Yeah. So you don't pigeonhole yourself, especially if you're talking about a
where you're
lifestyle. And I know that there's different categories for them. But especially if you evolve, like if you start when you're 20 and all of a sudden you're 30 and you're looking at life completely different, and then all of a sudden you're 40, and then obviously you're going to want to talk about different stuff, and so it's very important to...
And if you need to shift, you shift.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. I think, especially when you're just starting out in a personal brand, it's easy to get caught up in so much detail. But sometimes the detail is what holds people back from starting, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of models, and this is kind of what I'm using, is I'm starting out here. The quickest way for me to be successful in my agency is to pick a niche, because I can target and put out stuff specifically for that niche and get people's email or whatever. I don't want to do that. I'm okay with playing the long game and building my agency, because like I'm not looking for the short term. I'm looking for the long-term legacy. Mm-hmm. So in that, my podcast really is just kind of starting out, but what I want it to be, it's going to start local because that's what I have, right? So I'll interview, like, I have a fireman friend, I have a policewoman friend that I'm going to interview and just say, tell us about your life, but then tell me about being a fireman. Tell me some of the stories that happen in there. And
how do you keep them on track? Because I'm just sitting, man, if I sat down with one of my friends, I'm thinking of a fireman buddy that he would be busting my balls the whole time. Yep. And he would just, and then how do you get from those people to be scared about that camera? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you just break them down finally to where it's
shut the hell up and sit down and do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing for people when I talk to my clients. Like, during the very first meeting when I'm pitching somebody, I tell them, you are going to be doing Facebook Live. Oh, shit. I don't know if I can do Facebook Live. And I'm like, and I always ask them, why not? Well, I'm scared of the camera. Well, how do you think the people who are successful now started? Do you think it was really easy for them? First time you got behind the microphone for radio.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. But you start. And then the more you do it, you get used to it.
I think people are more so scared if they get too comfortable that they might say something that they shouldn't.
Slip.
Yeah.
I don't curse much, and I've already cursed, 4 times now throughout this whole thing? Hey, and just to let you know, for the Document Don't Create, so you can kind of come up close next to us, too, if you want to get some...
Not with this lens.
Okay. So anyway, it really is just a matter of starting. Now, if you have a friend that's busting your balls, that's attractive for people to listen to too, because I guarantee you're going to be busting his balls too, right? So there's like the playful interaction that will actually make the podcast really interesting in that vein. So I go in with questions, but I am also flexible enough to see if the conversations go in a different direction to let it. Because in the end, if we spend, an hour and a half doing a podcast, it's either going to be the full thing in its entirety, or I'm going to edit it down to where, like, if the repartee stuff is kind of like, okay, I don't know, whatever, I can edit it out. But what you just say is, listen, we're just talking. Like, if there's a camera there, okay, fine. Like, I just want to hear a story.
How in the world could you put that content out, though?
Mm-hmm.
You mean?
But it's endearing. If you have a personal connection with your
friend. It is endearing. However, I'm just thinking of certain conversations that we've had, like on a boat, like on Taneycomo, where I don't know if we could even share that.
Yeah, so you don't. or
so don't do those on Facebook Live.
Well, so if you're doing a podcast, you're not going to have to worry about the live as much. I'm actually going to be recording my podcast's video. Some of them may be Facebook Live. I mean, and you just kind of take that chance, and you're like, I hope they don't do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're doing a podcast or putting out video content, you have the ability to edit it too.
Okay.
Yeah. But people are going to want to see your personal connection with people. Like you said, you bring in one of your 25 people that changed your life.
Yeah.
And you sit there and say, thank you. Like, I love you for it.
Yeah.
Let's just talk. So he'll mostly talk about what he likes about you and what growth he's seen in you.
Yeah.
But then you can take that and put it out as content too. And the fact that, like, if he looks at the camera and says, man, like, Jay did this, this, and that, and now I see him grow as a person, you can ask him to expand on it a little bit. And then when he brings it into the general audience, that turns into content, inspirational content for everybody else. But it's also giving people a look behind the curtain of your life and learning who you used to be versus who you are now and how you grow. You see what I'm saying? It really is just a matter of starting, and then you just go with it. I mean, I could be really pissed right now that for some odd reason this microphone that was working 2 days ago isn't working now. I was having problems with my webcam and my speaker, so I don't even know if the audio of this is going to come out good. Because right now that's our only microphone.
Yeah.
Along with what's in there, but that's not going to pick up much. Like, just that kind of stuff. Like, this shit's going to happen in the beginning when you're just starting.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to end up with, but you just do it anyway.
So what do I need to work on? What do I need to work on so I can do some homework, man, and show Nick the Master some of my shit? I'm gonna say, look at what I got out of our conversation. This is what, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just have something right here for you.
I think you do need, to an extent, to look into equipment a little bit. I think like this Yeti microphone here is kind of the standard for blogging, and it's I think like $99. It's not bad at all, and it can pick up some good stuff. I think secondly, you just need to start sitting down with people and interviewing, or start putting out that content. Like your conversations with Emily, or whatever personal stuff you want to share with people. I think you can take clips from your radio show and repurpose them, which I know you guys do to an extent already on like iTunes and that kind of stuff.
What was the last one you said?
Like taking the clips from your show.
Oh, like podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Like yep. I know you're already doing. I know you have a podcast of sorts for your show. I think you need to create your personal public figure page, and you just need to start sharing your story. Your very first video should be talking about you growing up.
This is what I'm doing. Oh, you mean as a kid?
Just telling them your life story.
Okay.
Getting them connected right from the beginning.
When you're talking about public figure page, obviously you're talking Facebook. What
Yep.
what would you recommend? Facebook and Instagram, or what?
Let's take a look here.
Damn, I'm getting old.
Oh, good, man. The answer is always, the answer for the most part is always wherever you can put it. I knew you were going to do that.
I had an ex-girlfriend.
Oh, gosh. Jesus. What's her name? Let's say hello to her. Jeez. So when you go on to Facebook here, you can go into where you create a page or create a group right here. You're going to create a page.
No, yeah, no, I know. I was just saying, like, what are...
This is your...
I just want to make sure that... Right, yeah, I mean, we've done that with the show.
You mean as far as what then?
Yeah, where?
Okay.
Everywhere?
Start out with
like,
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep. And, I know a lot of people who are like, well, I'm going to start it everywhere. I'm going to do it on Instagram, and I'm going to do it on Twitter, and I'm going to do it all over the place. And then when they're not keeping up with it, they get burnt out and they stop. The two biggest right now are Facebook and Instagram, as far as where people's attention is.
Do you want to do different content on both?
You want to try to put it in context as much as you can.
Just maybe do one message here and kind of modify the message that could be similar here, over here.
And with your homework, I think you need to learn each platform and what they were actually created for. Mm-hmm. We talked about this before, where Facebook was created for one thing, but then Instagram was created for different, and now Twitter is something completely different. So you have to know.
Right.
So Facebook is the connection place, the social place, the get to know people, the learn stuff. But then you go over to Instagram, and it is very much so about photos and videos, but telling your story, because now you have Instagram stories up top too, and maybe taking people through your day, or like when you talk about content, it isn't always necessarily something that can turn into a video that you can chop up into something else, but just showing people throughout your day. Let's say you go out to the park.
My leg.
Oh, no worries. Do you?
He's like, I don't care. I'm trying to tell you something. Damn it! I'm giving you homework.
But I mean, let's say you go to Nathaniel Green and you take a walk with Emily one day and you see a duck and you think of a funny joke or just something like. There was one that I took when we went for her. She was doing a video project or whatever, photography project, and there were some ducks there, and I thought they were really cute, right? So I put on the camera because they were cute, and I was like, "Hey, duckies, you're really cute. Come on over." And the thing turned around and I said, "All right, well, fuck you then." That's Fotsch personality, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that's still considered content.
I mean, I know you were telling me about this Gary dude. Should I be careful about that stuff?
It depends on what you're wanting to stand for.
I mean, it's me, but I mean, I know you say don't worry about the haters, but I don't want anybody and parents on there being like, what the shit? You're saying fucking duck on a, and my kid listens to you every morning. You're such an asshole. I'm like, I already knew that, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, you definitely don't have to tell me again. Again, it depends on what you're wanting to do in the end. If you want people to get to know who you are, and that is who you are, what'll happen then if they actually connect with you in person and then you are like that, and they're like, you're way different than I thought you were going to.
No, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, and I know once you start to censor yourself, it's what you don't want to do, and I understand that part of it. But man,
have to know.
yes, no, I mean, I have no problem putting out the real me, and then that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you actually get the same thing if you meet them. I know you were saying a lot of people don't meet
authenticity,
but and I have no problem with that. It's just if I do it too much.
Well, if you feel that way, it's okay to censor yourself a little bit. Maybe you just say screw you,
take it back a little bit,
whatever.
Yeah.
But again, like, people just want to know who you are and see behind the scenes. If your ultimate goal is to inspire people, then there needs to be inspirational content. If you're holding, like, let's say you want to do what Jeff's doing, with his talk show now and all this great stuff. Well, where did he start? Instagram husband. Where did that start? Just him by himself trying stuff out. Instagram husband, is that what it's called? I don't remember.
Yes. What when you say tell your story, I mean, is this in video fashion? Is this a bio that I write? Is this just
all of the above?
Okay. All right.
Again, like,
Seems
I don't
like
know
the
how.
answer to the questions.
Right,
Put it all
but
out
that's
there.
the thing. The same thing I always tell people. It's going to end up being a testing thing.
Yeah.
So when they're like, oh, should I do this, or should I start here, or should I? Yes. What do you have time for? So what happens after your show, Fotsch? So you go home, and I know, like, sometimes you have things to do in the afternoon, but how much time do you have to work on all this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Right? So in that, maybe you just start out with Facebook simply. Let's say, okay, I'm going to start out with 3 posts a week, just because I need to get used to what the flow looks like, what does my creative time look like, whatever. And then you master 3 posts a week, and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready for the next level. Again, we're looking long term here. This is not, we're going to make all the money in the short term. And really, the first 3 to 5 years is a whole lot of testing.
Yeah.
And if your stuff's great, then you'll grow.
I'm obviously
it's
not
gonna
doing
be
this for money
incremental.
because I'm in radio.
Right. Oh, trust me.
I didn't start radio to be in it for money.
Yep. When I first started radio, I was doing radio sales, and it was like $25,000 a year, and that was more than what the talent was making at that point. And they're looking at you like, but it is. This is for the love. Yeah. You're not doing it for the money. The money follows.
Yeah.
That's
why we do minor league baseball.
Right.
For the love of the game.
Yeah. But
Kevin Costner.
What's going to happen when I follow you for a day when you're doing Cardinal stuff? People are going to see your personality and what you're like outside of standing on the dugout doing a promotion.
Yeah.
Like, people want to see the behind the scenes of you. I think what you need to do is start out, like, maybe if you want to do a Facebook Live or just record a simple video on your phone, get yourself, like, this thing cost me what, like $3 on Amazon? Sit at your desk, put that on, hit go, and then you say, hey, listen, this page, like, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just showing you some of the behind the scenes and my ultimate goal. Like, I want to inspire people to get better and, create relationships with people and just, share my humor and my personality with you, right? And then the next time around, you do another video and say, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, some of the things that you may not know about me. I'm a big goober on the radio, and that personality is not just a radio personality. Like, this is how I am in real life, This is Emily. And then one day you and Emily sit down and do a recording, and you just start talking about your relationship, like, what it's like to date somebody who's in radio or is in the public eye with Springfield and Fox and all these things. Like, it's just the content of getting to know you, but people are going to connect with it because this is what they want to know. I guarantee you, I know you think you live a boring life, and that may be true, but your boring is people getting to know who you are as a person.
Yeah.
When they trust you as a person, and then you start putting out the content of the inspiration stuff, they're going to start listening because they see you, they like you as a person, funny guy, good heart. Now you're sharing, like, no, this is really from the heart. Like, this is something that I went through all of my life, and I really don't want you to go through the same thing. It's going to connect with them. Then that's where people start sharing the content. That's where the organic growth starts. But it really is just a matter of starting.
Yeah.
So I would say, first thing, create your public figure page.
Yeah.
We can figure out something graphic design wise for your Facebook cover, because this stuff's a little bit different. She wants to experiment with it anyway, so I'm sure she'll create you something. And then when that's all done, you actually publish it. When you first create the page. It's
But have
automatically
content
published.
ready before you publish it.
A little bit.
Like a handful of videos. Some
And maybe that's where
pictures,
you do.
whatever, headshots or just different shit that
Maybe
I have,
you take
like,
the
already
What's
banked.
Up Fotsch. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's right. You have a whole bunch banked. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that, and yeah, me and Emily are gonna do
Create
some stuff as well.
What kind of
and
things are you
just-
thinking about doing?
Oh,
Are you talking about putting
man,
together
I
like,
wish I would
skits,
have
or
brought my. I don't think I have it in this folder. Well, I have a list, but I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
But
your starting point is just starting,
yeah.
and you are going to invite your friends and family on your personal page over to it because
Yes. And she was saying like Instagram, you almost want to like have like at least 10 pictures ready, so you have some kind of like.
everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not going to get mad if you have one photo there.
Okay.
What I would do is research some hashtags based on what you're wanting to do.
Okay.
Like I would use the Springfield hashtags. There's like hashtag 417,
Yeah.
417 land, love Springfield, I love Springfield. There's Springfield Mo, 417 photography, like so many different things. You're just trying to get your stuff in front of people who may be interested in, in your content. Like, so it's okay to have one picture there. Because people don't care about what's currently there.
Yeah.
They're only interested in what's the latest thing that you put out.
Yeah.
Then they may explore. And if they're like, oh, wow, he only has 2 photos, well, I want to follow because I want to see the rest of it.
Yeah.
Even follower counts, and this is very, very important. So follower counts, engagement, likes, that's all part of the equation, right? But don't stress yourself out about it. In fact, almost to an extent, I would say don't pay too much attention to it.
Okay.
Because you're putting out content for the sake of sharing your life with
That
people.
somebody might look at a year from now.
Right.
They might be going through your stuff and they're like, oh, well, I never saw this one.
Yep.
Or, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
But especially in the fact that, again, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers and be like, oh my God, I only got 5 likes on my picture. I'm such a failure.
Yeah.
People judge everything that they're doing based on what's really kind of like vanity metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So, Emily, I don't know if she said this to you, but I've heard so many people say, oh, you need to have at least 1,000 followers to be legit or for people to pay attention to your stuff. No, you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And let that all fall as it may. There are tips and tricks you can do to invite people or to, and I can show you all that stuff later. But, like your follower count, some people feel like they need to buy followers. And it's a Filipino farm in like a seedy building where they're creating fake profiles.
Yeah.
And like you're getting fake interaction, just that kind of stuff.
It's yeah.
It's all crap.
You're buying it just for your for you.
It's for your vanity.
Yes.
Right.
It's not helping you.
Right.
It's just literally to look at a number so you can go,
Yep. You have to know that you're in it for the long term.
yeah.
So after your first year, you may only have, let's say, 200 followers. Okay, that's 200 more than you had last time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the next year, you may be up to 500 or 700. You're making progress. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, long-term outlook. It's going to build slow, but you're building real.
Yeah, right.
The farms, okay, great. You have there, and this is a big problem in the influencer industry right now, is that a lot of big brands were purely only looking at follower count. Like, wow, this person has 21.5 million followers, and they've only posted on Instagram 27 times. Like, oh my gosh, they're a sensation. We need to give them $5,000 to promote our product. But then you go in and look at the picture, and there's a lot of likes and no conversation.
Yeah.
Which is a big red flag of, no, those are probably fake followers.
Yeah.
Or you go in the follower list and you're seeing Filipino and
So,
all this
I mean, I
craziness.
feel like such an idiot that I don't know some of this stuff, but I mean, basically what you're saying, a lot of this shit is just, I mean, when you're saying people just want real people and interaction, a majority of what I hear you saying and a lot of people saying, it's just not real
Yeah.
shit.
Yep. And
Like
that's-
legit,
Yep.
take it as that. Like it's
Yep.
Just not real people, not real shit. So I mean, to actually have that engaging.
It takes time. So again, relate it to your relationship with Emily. First day you met her, you weren't getting married the next day.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we need to date for a bit. I need to see what you're like in real life. And then when you're to that point of, do we spend the rest of our lives together? That's where you're like, okay, we've already been through some bad and some good, and we see how we are. Now we're getting into the real.
Yeah.
So now you're living with each other and you're dealing with the real ups and downs and what it means. Like, how do I communicate with that person? Like, when she's mad, like, guys, sometimes we're like, you just got to stop being upset. I do that to her sometimes too. You know, like, you just got to stop being so upset. And then she's like, like, I don't want to, don't tell me that. And then you see what
funny,
I'm saying?
like, when we say that they think that
like,
we're going to make everything.
calm down.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just waiting. Press real quick.
Okay, yeah.
No, I was waiting for you to tell me to calm down because since I heard you say that, I'm definitely going to do that. That's all I needed. Well, I got it all figured out. Thanks, guys.
You know, another thing I was thinking you should do, Fotsch.
Yeah.
Talk about what it's like to actually be on the radio.
Okay.
You know? When you're beginning your content there, and be like, hey, I just want to peel the layer back for you and kind of let you know it is fun and it's different and it has its challenges and blah, 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 but just talk about life on the radio. It's just a matter of starting and seeing, really. But you can absolutely do it. I have faith that you're going to kill it. I really do. I really think going out and interviewing people with funny questions and...
Oh, that's my wheelhouse. What I'm going to have to get used to is doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going, hey guys.
Yep.
Let me tell you something what happened to me today. Okay?
But see, what's the only way that you can get better at it?
You just put it out, guys.
Yep.
And this is my branding counselor. That's what I like to call him. He's my branding counselor. His name is Nick, and what he's doing is he's pushing me to just get out of my bubble, just get out of myself, and just let you guys in on what this is my branding counselor. So thanks to Nick.
But again,
that's why I'm Jay Fotsch, and I promote Nick's business. This is a testimonial for you guys.
There we go. But seriously, man, you're gonna kill it. You really are.
Thank you for
I honestly think
dude,
you're gonna kill it.
I don't know why this all worked out to where you're building this and I'm trying to figure this out. But dude, I hope we can do big shit together and as much as I can help out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I have no doubt that we're gonna absolutely kill it in general.
Because I don't know, I don't know if I'll just be doing this shit. Who knows? Maybe I'll do some office job and do this on the side. But it's fun.
But that's what happens, though.
Yeah.
Like, a friend of mine came over yesterday. We were sitting here chatting. We both worked in Keller Williams for different agents, and she's actually doing social media as well. So in a lot of ways, like, we should be competition, but we're both like, no. First of all, there's enough business around this area to go around for everybody, but we're very collaborative in nature. And we both said we thought our business was going to be one thing. So when we started out, we just went at it full force and did what we thought. But then all of a sudden, opportunities start to come in different ways. So then you're going this way, and you're like, well, actually, she was doing social media, but then it turned into small business consulting and life coaching. Yeah. But now her life coaching side is starting to blow up. Yeah. So she's like, well, I'm probably going to end up going this way because I really enjoy this, and I hired somebody to work in my office to do this. So now she's going to go this way, and you no doubt that something else is going to come up. Like, I have my first conference coming up. I'm speaking at a big conference, it's in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Sounds interesting, But it's with a brand called Social Media Week, and they're pretty big in the industry. So I'm going to be standing up there talking about Alexa briefings and Alexa voice, and how that can help businesses. I don't know what that's going to turn into, but when I first started doing this stuff, never did I think that might be the way I'm going to go. But now I'm playing with it because I see that it's growing. Amazon, just Alexa-enabled devices in general, but Amazon specifically, they said, there's a statistic, they said that by 2020, they think that Alexa-enabled devices are going to be in 77% of households because it's growing that quickly. Right, yeah. Right? Yeah. So I saw that and said, well, I'm interested in it anyway, the audio portion, so let me learn. And now I have an Echo show, and I have a flash briefing, which I haven't done for a while, which I need to do. But I'm going into this conference now and going to be speaking about it, and who knows who's that one person that's there ends up being a $100,000 contract, but I never thought that was going to be a direction that I go, but it just so happens. So when you're starting out doing this stuff, and let's say 2-3 years down the line, all of a sudden something may come up. They're like, hey, we actually want you to speak at a conference, and you're like, oh shit, I never thought I would speak at a conference or be a motivational speaker. So then all of a sudden, some of your content starts to go that way a little bit more. And then another opportunity pops up, and you're like, okay, well, interesting. Like, it really is just the flow, and you go with where it's going. Or you may discover, I hate podcasting. I really do. Okay, so you just don't do it anymore, you know? Or that may become such a passion, or you may have people coming to you saying, hey, Jay, like other radio DJs, let's say, around the nation saying, your podcast has grown so much, how did you do it? Well, then you could almost start a consulting business on the side of, this is actually how I got there. You could create courses that people buy. You could do a mentorship side where people pay you monthly to help them. Like, everything starts to open up, but it just starts with doing. Once you start doing, you start to see where it all ends up or where it's going.
So let me start doing, and then we'll have another sit down.
Yeah. No, it's true. And
let's sit down
with
my branding counselor, Nick.
But that's really what it comes down to is when you have those questions, you don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, send me a text. You're like, man, I'm here for you to help because I believe in what you're doing. I believe in where you're at, and I believe in where you're going. So however I can help you along that way is what I want to do. So let's say you're going to go do a stand on the street corner and interview people. Well, shit, we have 2 cameras. We have some equipment, though limited right now. We'll set it up for you and help you, tape it or whatever you want to do.
I mean, is it easy enough if I had like Emily do it? It'd be, I mean, that's okay, right?
You can get yourself, so her camera is Canon T6. I think it only cost her about $400 or $500. You don't even really need anything. You can use your damn cell phone if you want to, because some of those cell phones, there's only a 6 megapixel difference between my cell phone and that camera. And that's still not much. But yeah, you could sit there and her just sit there with the cell phone, or you'll see in Gary's videos, he has something called the Daily V, which is an everyday, somebody's following him around and you watch his day. Sometimes it turns into inspirational content, sometimes it turns into very tactical social media content, sometimes it's just watching how much he works. He's big into the hip hop side, which is good for you on the 96.5 with Power, what's it called? Power. So like on that side, he meets with a lot of hip hop artists, So he'll sit down in his office. They'll come in for 15 minutes and he'll tell them exactly what they need to do. So it even goes into what you're doing a bit too. But as you watch him, you'll start to pick up, like watch what he does. What is he doing? Oh, that's a really interesting concept that he employed there. So let me try. That's what this is. He'll go and like at a conference, meet up with somebody and just sit down, and it's not polished, no lights, it's just a camera or his guy holding the camera, just like videoing a conversation. And that all of a sudden turns into 30 pieces of content because he can take out snippets and repurpose content. So I could take this whole thing, put it up on Facebook, but then pick out 5 to 10 great pieces of advice or pieces where you're like being real human that I think would look great for your people, and then send it to you. You take this piece of content and then you chop it up. Or your podcast. I have 5 questions for my buddy from the fire department. But let's say he says that one thing where you're like, holy shit. Like, I never knew you went through that. And he's being real vulnerable and saying, man, it took for me to do X, Y, Z to finally get out of it. Well, all of a sudden, that's an inspirational piece of content. It can be on its own. So then not only do you have the full video, but now you have another piece of content you can use at another time. Or you can put it on an Alexa briefing, or put that as part of your podcast, or translate it into an article for a blog. Like, you have a pillar piece of content, you chop it up in many different ways, and before you know it.
What about reposting that old stuff? I know we talked about it briefly. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If there was one of those What's Up Fotches that you just thought was absolutely hilarious,
okay,
you can take that and be like, Throwback Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was something we used to called ambush, and I found one where this dude, legitimately was getting ready to punch me in the face, and all I was doing was ask him if he wanted to win $50. Wow. And he's like, if you don't back up for me right now, I will punch you in the face.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to give you money. He goes, I'm serious.
Jesus.
I'm like, yes.
Yep.
I'm like, this is great. I don't know. I watched it. That was hilarious.
And that's my point. So that is some of the stuff you can put on that personal page of like Throwback Thursday when the guy almost hit me in the face. It's comedy. It's still your personality, and it's video that people will laugh. And that's the kind of stuff you may put out there, and that may end up going viral.
Yeah.
Like, you just never know. You can't plan for viral.
Yeah.
I know people come to me like, I want you to create a video and make it go viral. And you're like, how do I make it go viral?
That's exactly, right there is exactly why it won't go viral.
Exactly.
You've already fucked it up.
Yep. So true. But yes, I think you should absolutely start sharing some of your past work as well. And then start pitching in some of your personal content and people getting to know you and you and Emily. And if you go out on a trip on the boat, take the camera and start taking some of the video with some of your friends.
Guys, I've got 3 or I think 4 pictures now of her sleeping with her mouth open. I say we really launch this son of a bitch off, right? Like, I have one for once. Like, I have a whole month's worth. You know what I mean? Like, it's like mouth open Mondays or something. And I just, you know what I mean? I already got like the next month.
Yeah.
So how many posts? I'm asking stupid questions.
It
As many
depends.
as okay.
It always depends.
Like 1 or 2 a day.
It always depends on your audience.
Okay.
Now, so I always use the comparison between my quote unquote following and CrossFit, right? So CrossFit, people are so nuts about it. Like, you've seen it. It's like almost every 30 minutes to an hour, they're sharing something like Shred Monday and like, oh, this person did this and and people eat that up because it's their lifestyle. But if I took that same thing and employed it to my social media business, I would lose a following like crazy.
Yeah.
It depends on your audience and how much they want to actually consume. Yeah. I would say for Facebook, and I know it kind of goes against the grain, but what you're doing is a little bit different. You can do 4 or 5 posts a day if you want to.
Oh shit.
No. I'm not saying that's what you have
I don't
to do.
think I've done that in a week before, Nick.
But that's my point. I'm not saying you have to.
No.
This is all stuff you build up to, right?
Yeah.
But for like the personal branding stuff, if it's good and people are laughing and like loving it, but let's say you start out with 1 a day, right? And then, a month later you're like, okay, let's try 2 a day. And then a couple months later, like, I've got so much content, let's go up to 3. And then all of a sudden you see like your reach going down and like you look at the data to see what your people can handle.
You just go back to your original point. Just keep posting it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what, modify later.
And again,
we'll be like, all right. It's with anything.
Long-term outlook.
Yeah.
So maybe just start with 3 a week just so you can even see what that's like.
Okay.
And then build it from there and test it out.
Yeah.
There's no magical number. It always just depends on your fans.
And maybe I could just set a personal goal for myself to where when I do launch my new page, like I'll launch an Instagram, I'll launch the public figure deal on Facebook.
Get yourself a YouTube
and
channel.
Just kind of, and should I post to YouTube and then post that to Facebook?
Well, it always depends on the platform when we're talking about context, right?
Okay.
There's a thought that goes, there's two parts to that thought. One group says you should always post your video native to Facebook, upload it through Facebook, because Facebook may be penalizing people who are posting content that takes them somewhere away from Facebook.
That's right. I remember hearing that in a digital meeting.
Yep. What I would also
say, so you got to be careful. Yeah, post it to that, and then almost kind of post it to that, and then back it up on YouTube. Right. So post it to Facebook, and then have and repost it.
YouTube is actually the second largest search engine next to Google. Did you know that?
No. I knew it was big, but I didn't.
But it makes sense because people go to YouTube. How do I create a video? Lots and lots and lots of content, right? So on that, you don't ever want to look at it as a backup. Every one of these platforms is vital to what you're doing. Yeah. Right. So
but it's okay to post the exact same. When we're talking about posting the exact same thing to Instagram and Facebook and modifying it, it's okay to, let's just say me and you do a 60-second video in here where, I don't know, you're teaching me how to do jumping jacks or whatever. Right. And I post it to Facebook, but I also post it to YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's okay if it's the same though, because it's kind of used differently. Yep. Is that right?
Yep. And depending on what you're looking to do. So let's say you go down the line and now you are having people pay for courses, let's say, right, on podcasting or how to go from, DJ to influencer, whatever. Like, you would still want to go onto Facebook if you put out an ad and say, hey, Springfield, Missouri DJs, like, you know, hey, this video specifically for YouTube, hey, YouTube. You still want to give as much personalized context as you can to each of those, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But you do want to learn the intricacies of every one. And in fact, there's a really good book. Matter of fact, I have it. And go figure. This is Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk here. This book called Crushing It. And inside of there, he does a somewhat deep dive of every one of the platforms. He had put out a book called Crush It a long time ago, which is where he told everybody what to do on each platform. This is kind of like the updated version because the platforms have changed so much since then. But there's a chapter in there on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and there's also stories about people who took his advice on how to build a personal brand and to build their business and how it actually ended up working out for them. A lot of this is going to be you online reading articles and learning, like, you know, how do I optimize my YouTube channel? Then you sit down and you learn how to do that, and you test it until you get it to a point where it's good. You can take that if you want to read it. I don't know if you're a reader or not.
Yeah.
But I finished that book in 2 days. It was so good.
This is awesome, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Jessica Alba? I haven't heard about her in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
What's her name?
Jessica Alba.
Oh, Jessica Alba?
You know
yeah,
who
it's because
Jessica
she owns
Isn't she?
Honest Tea. So she's gotten
I
away
know
from
she
some
has
of the
like,
movie
what, 3
stuff.
kids?
Mm-hmm. She's gotten away from a lot of the movie stuff and is now an entrepreneur and investor herself.
Really?
And I think is it Jessica Alba that owns Honest Tea?
I thought it was, I think it's called the Honest Company.
Honest Company?
Yeah.
But you know Honest Tea, have you seen that in like gas stations?
Yeah.
That's her company.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
She, I think the thing that changed for her was she had kids. And
That's what I knew that slowed her down, like her career and everything. I just didn't.
yeah. She hit that point where becoming a mom opened her eyes to, because the Honest Company is a lot of like diapers, diaper wipes, kind of like your home toiletries, especially kids stuff. And when she became a mom, she was one of those like, I'm dissatisfied and I solved my problem, and that really.
He does have a chapter in here on podcasting, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, like. But the first half of this too is like the just get it started. So this is like the inspirational, motivational entrepreneurship stuff in the beginning.
Nice.
And then he goes into the tactical stuff on the end.
Okay.
I really think this book could be a huge benefit to you.
Yeah.
So take it, read it.
Okay.
It's
Sweet. Dude,
amazing.
thanks.
Start consuming his stuff on there. Like I said, search on personal brand. Start watching his daily V and getting into what he does and just starting to see what the whole documenting thing is.
Okay.
You know, there's so much you can do, and he will give you so much great tactical advice.
Okay. Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, of course. All good.
This is great. I mean, I
hope. I know we went in like 600 different directions.
No.
I hope
No.
something came out of it for you.
Oh my god, dude, a bunch. Like, I mean, whenever I'm in, and I mean, this has been like some of my personal goals that I've been working on for. I mean, really honing in on the last couple of months, but it's been in the last year really. But honing in on trying to get this started and the right way to go about it. But it's the way that I'm hearing is just kind of just jump in and do it and modify it as you go along. And I mean, I'm sure you'll be seeing shit on social media once I start posting. You're like, hey, dude, you should tag this. And
you have a lot of content already from the years you've been in, and like pictures of yourself, like at concerts. That's what I was going to tell you. I don't know what your relationships are like with some of the artists that come through and do concerts, but if you have something with them, what you
like
should
a little
do,
testimonial. I mean, is it
well,
almost
partially that.
Okay.
But even on the side of, let's say, I don't know, who's one of your favorite musicians that comes through town that may be somewhat influential? Is there somebody you have like a personal relationship with when they come into town? You're like, holy shit, so good to see you again. Like, let's go grab a beer.
Mike Shannon?
Okay.
He's not. He's
I don't know.
Broadcaster for the Cardinals. I'm just.
Oh, okay. But think about that though. So let's say on that side, who's to say, because he is probably at least somewhat well known around the area, you can't go grab a beer with him and record some content or record a podcast or something.
Yeah.
You know, or like take the camera and record you guys having a beer and just having a conversation. Nothing set up, nothing official, but just sitting there talking about life. That turns into content. And then you may get some, like you'll see on the day in the life, right? We're going to be in your car driving to work at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I'll be half asleep, but I'm going to be sitting there with the camera actually asking you questions. Like, tell me about what your mindset's like going into work. And you're either going to give me something serious, like, yeah, you know, blah, 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 or you're going to be like, oh, I'm still trying to wake up. Comedy genius, like, that's gold, you know? But I'm going to be asking you questions and pulling stuff out of you so that at the end we're going to look at, okay, here's all of the footage. What was inspirational? You may talk about that one thing with your dad that absolutely changed your life. You may talk about, you know, in the beginning of my career, X was happening. I was able to grow through it through Y, and now Z is where I ended. That could be a piece of content that goes to you that says, hey, this is something to post. If you're a lot of comedy, maybe it'll be more of a funny day in the life than it will be an inspirational day in the life. There's small bits we can pull out of it that ends up becoming micro content. We can take that and turn that into a blog. I mean, like, so much different stuff can happen from just one like day of shooting. And that's essentially.
But it's just kind of like what I'm hearing you say though too is just the angles on what you come across.
But don't be fake about it. You just your real life about it.
Okay.
And that's what turns into content when you have a podcast with a Mike Shannon. You guys are just shooting the shit, drinking a beer, but then something like life changing or that can. So you'll say, had a beer with Mike Shannon. You know. Who'd you say he was?
He's a play-by-play guy for the Cardinals.
Okay. Right. So, you know, you can create into a podcast and saying, hey, interview this person, but then on your personal site or your personal page or whatever, you can be like, there's something, you know, Mike Shannon and I had a beer the other day, and there's something that he said that really stuck out to me. I'm actually going to play it right now for you. Clip. At the end. Like, really, that changed my life or made me think differently about my life.
So when it comes across as editing, I mean, do you want to edit all this stuff?
If you can, you don't have to.
Like, what if I have like a 30-second video that I'm just going to post?
You can do that too. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I could take this, God help them, string it all together, our hour-and-a-half conversation. We'll lose people 20 minutes in, right? Because you and I are like all over the place. We both think similarly like that. So if you need to condense it down, absolutely nothing wrong with that too. But there'll be times where Gary will, like he had a meeting with his interns the other day. They're about to leave. And he sat down and just spent time with them and answered questions for them. One camera angle the entire time of him answering their questions. Posted as a piece of content. You know, like it just depends on what happens during the meeting. If it does veer off all over the place and you don't think that there's like a cohesiveness to it, then yeah, go ahead and chop it down. But you may have that one podcast that's so damn funny that every moment of it was fantastic. You know, post that up as a video for the entire thing. Again, it's all about feeling it out, feeling what's going to work for your audience and what really truly conveys the message that you want.